Before we start tonight, this is a little unusual, but before we start tonight, I want to acknowledge actually the severe weather that we're having across the state. And we want to keep in our prayers, and I want to have just a moment of silent prayer in just a moment, for the people of Alabama. Our speech tonight is about the people of Alabama. And we need to remember to pray for them. We're not strangers in Alabama to severe weather. And we've prepared well. We probably have prepared as well as any state for severe weather. But we need to remember people. We need to encourage them to seek safety. And we'll just have to watch the weather tonight, and let's keep in our prayers, and let's pause just for a moment to pray for the people across this state for their safety. Thank you. Lieutenant Governor Ivey, Speaker Hubbard, President Marsh, distinguished guests, members of the Alabama Legislature, Chief Justice Moore, and members of the Alabama Supreme Court, and my fellow Alabamians. July 1969, the state of Alabama stood midway through a year of celebration. They were playing host to a collection of events that were commemorating our state's 150th birthday. From the Tennessee Valley to the Gulf Coast, festivals and plays and parties and ceremonies were taking place. And we were celebrating 150 years. Those celebrations paused very briefly that night on July the 20th, 1969, as Alabamians, along with fellow Americans, stood breathless, watching and waiting for a man to take that first historic step on the moon. With that first giant leap for mankind, America achieved the unthinkable, the unbelievable, and the incredible. And it was Alabama that made that impossible feat possible. The powerful Saturn V rocket that took man to space and to new heights was imagined, engineered, and built by a brilliant team of scientists right here in Alabama. It was Alabamians who dared to believe that they could do the improbable. It was Alabamians who challenged themselves to find a way where there had never been one before. It was those Alabamians who inspired America and stunned the world when they proved they were worthy of the words of a fallen president who, years earlier, had challenged us to do things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. It was their moonshot, their one chance to set their aim on a lofty target, to do something that no one could have possibly imagined, and to ultimately change the world. Our great state's rich history is made up of a series of Alabamians thinking audaciously and courageously in confronting even the most painful problems and the most overwhelming obstacles. We are a people who bravely take up arms and defend our nation's freedoms, a people who courageously yet peacefully confront injustice when those freedoms are compromised, even among our own fellow citizens. We are a people who will not be content to see a neighbor in need and not offer an opportunity for help. Where there is urgency, we respond. Where there is a challenge, we accept. Where there is threat, we protect. Where there is scarcity, we provide. And where there is need, we create opportunity. When all children need access to a quality early education, we give them that chance. When our poorest and most vulnerable and most marginalized seek hope, we will lend a hand. Where we fall short of providing even the most basic services to the incarcerated, we will rise up and fulfill our obligation. When access to an education or the ability to learn a viable job skill are hindered, we will clear the path. And when jobs are needed, we will bring industries along with a brighter opportunity to our communities and our families. Last year alone, Alabama added over 52,000 jobs. Our industries are so convinced that our state is the place to grow that they invested over $2 billion in creating good, high-skilled, well-paying jobs for our people. As many as 2,000 new jobs are coming to North Alabama, where Polaris is building a $127 million ATV factory at a new production hub in Huntsville. 300 more jobs are coming as Mercedes, the automaker that put Alabama on the world map as an industry contender, is seeing dramatic growth at its Tuscaloosa plant. With the latest expansion, the hands of over 3,400 Alabamians will proudly assemble Mercedes for the world. This year, skilled Alabamians will proudly deliver the first Alabama-made Airbus jetliner off of the assembly line of the $600 million Mobile plant. By the end of next year, 50 of the high-tech jetliners will roll off of the line, proudly stamped, made in Alabama. GE Aviation has chosen Alabamians as the ones who will revolutionize how jet engines are manufactured at 2 new plants to be built here this year. The Alabama-made Honda Ridgeline truck will make its debut during the Super Bowl this weekend and in showrooms across the country this spring. And Google decided in June that Jackson County, Alabama, is the best place in the world to locate a $600 million call center. And it's no wonder, then, that Alabama's impressive string of coveted economic development projects have rightly earned us the title State of the Year by Business Facilities magazine. The world has discovered what I know and what everyone in this room knows, that of all the rich resources Alabama is blessed to have, there is no greater asset than the skilled hands of the men and women who get up every day and they go to work, and they are our hard-working Alabamians. Our aggressive efforts to draw industry to Alabama are reflected in the unemployment rate. It's 33% lower than when we first took office. Not since 2008 has the state of Alabama seen more of our people employed. And never before have we been so intentional in our efforts to ensure that every Alabamian who wants a job can get a job. Through a series of job fairs conducted across the state by the Alabama Department of Labor, counties with the highest unemployment rates have seen a marked decrease. We've brought business and industries directly to the neediest communities to meet face-to-face with the men and women who are looking for a job. We've held workshops to teach basic interview and job skills so men and women in these communities have their best chance to land a good job. The results have been remarkable. Counties have seen double-digit unemployment rates go down, and jobs are being filled. The Alabama coal industry has suffered tremendously, leaving thousands of Alabamians looking for work. No thanks to our federal government. Over 1,000 people poured into a job fair held 2 weeks ago in Walker County. 54 companies were there meeting with the men and women who need a good job. And one of those companies was a Japanese auto supplier, which days before had announced it was bringing 300 jobs to the area. This is how we put Alabamians back to work. I want to commend Alabama Labor Commissioner Fitzgerald Washington for his innovative and tireless efforts to connect our people with good jobs. Sit up. In schools all across our state, teachers and principals have challenged themselves and their students to aim higher, to work smarter, to strive to meet higher standards. Alabama students have risen to that challenge, and the results are astounding. Alabama's high school graduation rate jumped an impressive 17% in the last 4 years. Today, Alabama's high school seniors are graduating at a rate of 89%, up from 72% just 4 years ago. This is a testament to hardworking teachers and principals and support staff who encourage and help our students meet their education goals and graduate. And I appreciate their hard work. That is why in the balanced budget that I will present, I will include a pay raise for teachers and school support personnel, as well as all state employees, no strings attached. $25,000 businesses in Alabama are small businesses, and many of those are owned and operated by men and women who have bravely served our country. Alabama has, and always will be, a state that takes great pride and great care of our men and women who proudly call themselves veterans. With over 420,000 veterans in Alabama, we want to make sure that we give them every opportunity to succeed. Our veterans have given so much, yet they ask for so little. Working with the Alabama Small Business Commission and the Alabama Veterans Network, we have developed a way for customers to identify a veteran-owned business. Simple stickers displayed in veteran-owned businesses statewide are aimed at helping us know that small business is owned by someone who sacrificed for our country. One of those Alabama veteran business owners is here with us tonight. Clayton Henchman. Stand up, Clayton. He is the Clayton is the founder and CEO of USI. It's an IT company that supports government and private and nonprofit clients. Clayton Henchman served in the United States Army as an infantry officer. He medically retired as a captain due to the wounds he sustained during an improvised explosive attack while he was conducting a night raid to kill or capture al-Qaeda in Iraq. He's a West Point graduate, and he's been awarded the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. He also is an Alabamian. Tonight, Clayton represents all the men and women who not only served our country, but the veterans who are now helping our economy grow. And tonight, Clayton, all of our veterans, and our men and women serving in the military deserve our thanks and our support. The men and women who so bravely defend our nation do not risk their lives nor their livelihood so that our freedoms can be easily ignored. Our founding fathers did not dedicate themselves to chart a course for democracy so that 200 years later our Constitution could be circumvented, or worse, neglected by the power of any one person. I have twice taken the oath of office as governor, and twice I have sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Alabama. It is my solemn duty, as one called by God to this office and elected by the people that I serve, to support the Constitution and the principles that laid the very foundation for our nation, not to find a way around them should I ever disagree. We are all endowed by our Creator with certain specific rights. Our Constitution serves to protect those rights. It guarantees individual rights, and it serves to stop any government, especially our own, from taking them away. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, guaranteed by the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed, not by any government, not by any individual, and not by any stroke of a presidential pen. The United States of America remains as it has been since its foundation, a national government with limited enumerated powers. And the 10th Amendment guarantees not only the limits of those powers, but the broader powers of each one of the 50 states. The powers delegated by the Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in state governments are numerous and infinite. In declaring our nation's independence, our great country dedicated itself to liberty and equality and declared its sovereignty over other nations. In turn, that same sovereignty belongs to the states, to Alabama, and it must be recognized by the federal government. By abandoning sovereignty, we abandon democracy. And worse, we undermine a state's reserved right to protect life and liberty of our citizens. The threat of terrorism on U.S. soil is as real today as at any time since 9/11. Radical Islamists carry out carefully planned attacks on innocent lives from Paris to California. And our people, finding little comfort from our federal government, wait and worry for our safety. The federal government's Refugee Resettlement Act has failed America and its citizens. The outdated program, which predates any recent acts of radical terrorism, allows refugees from the most radical nations to enter countries, including the United States, with little known about them. Among those refugees are those who would commit the most violent, deadly, and extreme acts of terrorism. When 130 people were slaughtered in Paris at the hands of radical Islamic terrorists, among those killers was a refugee from a terrorist nation. My number one concern is always for the safety and security of the people of Alabama. Following those attacks, my administration immediately took a long, hard look at the federal government's refugee resettlement process. What we and dozens of other states discovered is unsettling and it's alarming. From the moment a refugee from any country sets foot on American soil in our borders, we have found the state of Alabama is completely excluded from knowing the first piece of information about that person. No past health status is divulged, no names, very little background, virtually nothing is known about refugees once they're here. Many have entered our state from terrorist nations. Some single adult males have come in leaving no trace when they out-migrated to other states. Their whereabouts are still unknown. That, my fellow Alabamians, is absolutely unacceptable. We cannot have a federal program that greatly impacts states yet does not allow states access to critical information. The federal government shall not and cannot be allowed to ignore states or their governments, and in Alabama, we will not stand by while citizens are placed at risk. We will not place our people in harm's way. I have made my deep concerns well known to the Obama administration, and those concerns have fallen on deaf ears. In an effort to reform the Refugee Resettlement Act, my administration filed suit last month against the federal government demanding the involvement of the states in this critical program. By filing suit, my goal is to completely reform the Refugee Resettlement Program. For the safety and security of our citizens, we must ensure that an outdated, archaic, dangerous process that excludes the states is eliminated. In addition, we're going to ask the legislature to introduce a joint resolution in this session calling on Congress to reform the Refugee Resettlement Act. My gratitude goes to the legislature and to the sponsors, and two of the sponsors are here tonight, and I'd like you to recognize them, Representative Connie Rowe and Senator Clyde Chambliss. And in the meantime, you can rest assured that this administration, my administration, will always place the safety and security of our people first, even if the federal government does not. Led by Secretary Spencer Collier, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency works tirelessly to protect our people, whether it's to increase security at large gatherings or identifying and investigating potential terrorist threats. Our men and women in law enforcement will always stand to protect the people of this state. 1 year after its full implementation, ALEA has become one of the most efficient and effective agencies in the state. At a time when the threat to our own safety and security is at risk, I am convinced that the men and women in Alabama's law enforcement agency will work tirelessly to keep Alabamians safe and secure. And just as we must adequately fund our military to protect our nation, we must adequately fund ALEA to protect our state, our people from harm in Alabama. We will always support the men and women who serve and protect and put their lives on the line every day for our safety. I will do everything as governor to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And I want to protect the rights guaranteed by our Constitution. I will always firmly uphold the truths which are self-evident, that all men are created equal. They're the most vulnerable, the most helpless, the most abused, the most oppressed, the elderly, the ill, and especially the unborn. Everyone has been endowed with the right to a life. Everyone has been endowed with the right to pursue happiness, and no one may rightfully deny us those things. No man, no government, no state should impede someone's ability to make a better life for themselves and for their families and for their children. I was born the youngest of 6 children to parents who lived in a small house on a piece of land in rural Alabama. My family didn't have electricity or indoor plumbing until I was around 6 years old. I didn't even own a toothbrush until it was time to start to school. Neither of my parents had even a high school education. By any standard, I could have been one of the statistics that has become too common in this country and especially in this state. I could have been the child of a family not able to afford an education, not able to gain the skills needed to hold a well-paying job, not even able to support a family. But I was given 2 things that every child needs. I was given unconditional love, and I was given an opportunity. Thankfully, I accepted both. All children and their parents and all of our people must be able to find their opportunity in Alabama. While good jobs are coming, industries are growing, and education is improving, we cannot continue to ignore persistent problems. Alabama is the 6th poorest state in the country. While we rank number 1 in football teams and economic development accolades, our state consistently falls dead last in virtually every quality of life ranking, from infant mortality to obesity. While we excel in job recruitment, on average we have more people in poverty than the country as a whole. Too many Alabamians are undereducated, undertrained, unhealthy, and unable to break the cycle of poverty and the cycle of dependence. It drains our state. It drains our hope. It stymies our state's growth. Year after year, Alabama continues to find itself in 48th, 49th, and 50th place. I'm not okay with that. No one in this room should be satisfied with last place, especially when it comes to our people. If we are ever going to go from being a good state to a great state, we must first resolve to reverse the problems that have plagued Alabama for decades. Poverty does not discriminate. In Alabama, it knows no race. It knows no region. It knows no political party. The poverty rate is in double digits in Winston County, just as it is in Dallas County. So hear me on this. Every person in this room, Democrat and Republican, represents the poor, the uneducated, and the unhealthy. Whether adults or children, urban or rural, black or white, we are all Alabamians. And it's time that we take a hard look at our problems, own them, and work towards a solution. To care about Alabama is to care about her people, every last one. I wanted to be the governor of this state because I wanted to help people and to make their lives better. I also want Alabama to be known as the best state in the nation. Together, we have a chance, an opportunity, to fundamentally change those things that hold our state back, that stand in the way of greatness. It's time we do the impossible, the improbable, and the unbelievable. It's time we shoot for the moon. In the year 2019, the state of Alabama will celebrate its 200th birthday. 50 years after Alabamians made history with the lunar landing. That same year, I will have completed my service to this state as the 53rd governor. I want to leave this office able to say with confidence that Alabama is truly a great state. Today, we launch an ambitious course of action aimed at fundamentally changing Alabama, opening doors of opportunity, clearing the path to prosperity, and solving decades-old problems. Today, we launch Alabama's Great State 2019 plan. Our strategic three-year course of action will set in motion things that will help our people to be educated and trained. It also will connect and construct basic opportunities for all of our citizens. This bold course of action will guide us through the next 3 years. It will address long-standing problems from health care to prison reform with cost-effective, common-sense solutions, specifically focusing on Alabama's 55 rural counties. We are directly addressing obstacles that stand in the way of our state's potential for greatness in education and in health care, access to technology, job growth, and economic opportunity. Once again, in Alabama, we will do what we've never done before, not because it is easy, but because it's hard. And we begin this with some of our state's youngest citizens and one of our state's greatest successes. Alabama's first-class volunteer pre-K is a shining star of success in Alabama. Through the Office of School Readiness, Alabama's first-class pre-K is consistently ranked among the best in the nation, and it serves as a model for other states. We're working to give our young children a new, strong foundation with the opportunity for a good education in volunteer pre-K. Children who attend pre-K are more likely to read at grade level. They're more likely to have higher math scores, and they're less likely to need special education services. We know that this program works because we have the statistics to prove it. But more importantly, we've actually seen the results in the lives of our students. And I'd like for you to meet one of our students, Miracle Scott. Miracle, stand up. Miracle. Miracle is a senior at Eufaula High School. She's a member of the National Honor Society. She's a varsity cheerleader. And this next year, she will attend Auburn University. 12 years ago, as a 4-year-old, Miracle was given a great opportunity when she was enrolled in one of our earliest Alabama first-class pre-K programs. Today, Miracle is an outstanding student and able to get a good college education. And Miracle, just like I am proud of pre-K, I'm proud of you. Every 4-year-old in Alabama should have the same opportunity that Miracle has had. This is why, in this year's balanced budget, we are doubling the amount of funding for the first-class pre-K program in the state. By the year 2019, we will be able to tell every parent in Alabama there is a pre-K classroom available for your child. Education is the basis for the future growth of Alabama's economy. We must build a solid foundation. That's what pre-K does. It sets them up to succeed, the children, so that they are better prepared for post-secondary education and they're more prepared to join the workforce. Industries have told us that they need more highly trained, educated workers, more than we have. Yet the number of Alabama students who are choosing to go to college is actually declining. But our goal by the year 2019 is to significantly increase the number of low-income students who are prepared to enter and succeed in post-secondary education. Modeled after the Gear Up program launched last year by UAB, Alabama's own Future Scholarship Plan will identify seventh graders beginning in the state's poorest counties. Through Alabama's community college system, those students will receive tutoring, summer help programs, visits to college campuses, and financial planning to make sure they not only want to go to college, but they can and they will succeed. By the time they graduate high school, after they've met certain strict criteria, kept their grades up, tapped into all available financial aid, we will pay their two-year college tuition. Offered as a last dollars incentive, the Future Scholarship Plan will not only educate and train our students, it will produce a pipeline of well-trained, well-educated talent for industries so that those businesses can expand and grow. We will be able to fund these scholarships and this plan through money we save by the streamlining measures we have already put in place in the community college system. The money we save through consolidation and by finding efficiencies will pour back into the system to help students get good education and be better prepared for the workforce. Launching as a pilot program by the year 2019, our goal is to expand the plan statewide. The results will be a well-trained, well-educated, new generation of Alabamians. For the first time in Alabama, we will allow business and industry to drive our workforce development system. This year, we will restructure, streamline, and clarify Alabama's workforce system to improve how we train workers for Alabama's businesses. The new Alabama workforce system will be driven by business and industry demand and what skills and talents those industries need. In turn, Alabama's K-12 systems, community colleges, four-year institutions, AIDT, ATN, and private training companies will all work together to not only educate and train, but to also create a talent supply chain of hard-working Alabamians to business and industries. Essential to economic growth and job creation and the overall quality of life in Alabama is access to technology. For all of our citizens, it is important. But today, over 1 million Alabamians do not have access to even the slowest and most basic high-speed wireless technology. Technology is growing at lightning speed, changes the way we educate, changes the way we deliver health care, changes even the way we start a business. Yet our communities and rural areas cannot tap into the potential that broadband access would bring. We're embarking on an ambitious plan to provide rural and underserved communities access to broadband, high-speed, high-capacity technology. Working with private sector providers, we will first begin by cutting the bureaucracy that stands in the way of providing broadband access. We will first work to provide the infrastructure needed to provide the broadband. Private providers will then be able to provide access and offer it at a more affordable and manageable cost to our communities. Promoting a robust broadband network will lead to a stronger education system It will lead to increased capabilities for health care and a more efficient, connected law enforcement. It also will enhance economic development in our communities. We cannot talk about fundamentally changing Alabama without addressing what has become a very difficult and growing problem in our state. For decades, Alabama's prisons have become increasingly overcrowded, dangerous to both inmates and our corrections officers, and incredibly costly to taxpayers. But that's going to change beginning now. Alabama is about to embark on a complete transformation of the state's prison system. Led by the Department of Corrections Commissioner, Colonel Jeff Dunn, we will permanently close the doors to decades-old facilities where maintenance costs have skyrocketed and increased staff are needed. The outdated prisons will be consolidated and replaced by 4 newly constructed state-of-the-art facilities. And by building a brand new female prison facility, the state of Alabama will permanently slam the door shut on Tutwiler Prison for Women. Funded by adequate bond issue, we will begin this process within the year. The consolidation and closing of outdated facilities will produce immediate savings for the state with less operational cost and higher efficiencies in staffing and maintenance. These larger, more efficient facilities will meet all necessary standards, and along with prison reform measures put into place by our legislature last year, it will drastically lower Alabama's prison overcrowding. The money we save with more efficient prisons will in turn be used to pay off the debt of the construction. This innovative concept will not only provide more secure, safer prisons, but it will also ensure that the safety of our citizens and corrections officers will be made safe. Inefficient, overcrowded systems will be made into the best in the country, and Alabama will become the model for the rest of the nation. In 65 of Alabama's 67 counties, there's an undeniable shortage of doctors. Alabama ranks 40th in the number of physicians per capita. We rank dead last in the number of dentists. It is no wonder, then, that we see rising rates of preventable and manageable disease, especially among our rural and low-income counties. The majority of Alabama is rural, yet rural physicians make up less than 10% of the physician workforce. Under Alabama's Great State 2019 plan, we will increase the number of doctors serving in rural areas, especially in the state's poorest counties. Those who are classified as rural health care providers must be able to adequately support their practice and make a decent living. To make this possible, we will increase funding for medical scholarships and loan forgiveness for medical students who commit to serving a period of time in one of our underserved communities. This applies to physicians, physician's assistants, advanced practice nurses, and dentists. We will also work to create a state tax credit of up to $5,000 a year. And I want to work with our congressional delegation where we will push in Congress a federal tax credit of up to $50,000 per year for those who are classified as rural health care providers. It's only the first step toward reversing alarming health problems that have not gone away in Alabama. Having a doctor in a small rural community changes a community and it saves lives. Dr. John Waits is proof that it can be done. Bibb County hasn't had a labor and delivery service at its hospital in nearly 20 years. Women in that area have to drive 45 minutes so that they can safely deliver a baby. Dr. Waits has worked as a family doctor and as an obstetrician for the past 12 years at Cahaba Medical Care in Centerville. Last November, he helped open Bibb Medical Center's first labor and delivery hospital. And not only that, he also helps train future doctors who will follow in his footsteps. Dr. Waits, thank you. In this year's budget, we will increase funding to lay the foundation for 12 new residency programs across our state, similar to the Bibb County model. Primary care doctors are critical to improving the health and well-being of the chronically ill and the chronically poor. Greater access to good health care can be achieved. Our communities need it, and our people deserve it. No pageant, no festival, no celebration will better commemorate Alabama's 200th birthday in the year 2019 than for our people to be living a more prosperous and healthy life. In 2019, let's commemorate our state's humble beginnings by celebrating greater opportunity and access to a strong education, quality health care, and game-changing technology for all of our Alabamians. There is no better way to mark the 50th anniversary of the time Alabamians set their mind to achieving the impossible than for Alabamians to once again prove we can do this. In 1961, when President Kennedy challenged America to travel to space, no one knew how to land on the moon because no one had ever done it. Alabamians figured it out. Once again, we accept an impossible challenge. And like our scientists in 1969, once again, we will succeed. This is our moonshot. This is our great state. God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the great state of Alabama.